Don't look at me all the
Oh,
time.
sorry.
Okay, you can look at me all the time. Kia ora, everyone. Welcome along to State of It. My name's Morgan Williams. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm joined by Jonny, Aliesha,
Kia ora.
Nik, and we've got Angela here as well. This episode, we're going to be talking about Christchurch hospitality in particular and the state of it now that the rebuild's, well, would I rebuild? I mean, like 10 years on now?
Is it still a rebuild when it's a decade after?
I don't know.
Still rebuilding.
It's a postmodern
Definitely.
rebuild.
It's
Yeah.
well underway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
There's still car parks that shouldn't be car parks.
That's right.
We have
Yeah,
a lot of
you
car
can see
parks.
the seagulls now. Like they're like, I feel like they're an integral part. Seeing like the baby furry grey ones, and like they're
Like the
shitting in
next
the pond.
generation.
Yeah. It's actually moving through generations of smelly seagulls.
They're
Like,
protected.
Have they been moved on yet?
No, not the black bill ones. They are predicted.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
I'm with
What
you.
will they
Yeah.
do when it's no longer like a beachhead? What will happen to those seagulls?
they're just going to move to the band rotunda.
What a shitty
Oh,
taste.
Well, they're waiting for the entertainment book discount to come out. So they're not going there until they get the discount.
Yeah.
And then
Fair
Wow.
call.
Yeah.
That sounds like another topic coming up, doesn't it?
Oh.
Seagull's
segue.
Golden Book.
A good seagull way.
what's
Yeah.
the golden book?
Yeah, the Golden Book.
I forgot that. No.
I got it. The Gold Book.
Gold book.
Is it
yeah.
gold?
Oh,
I
the
thought it was
gold
gold card.
No,
No,
that's
that's for
senior
That's
citizens.
the prize where you never had to
yeah.
pay student
Gold
loans
card.
and you've got
You
like
think
an
you
enormous
can't
amount
wait,
of properties.
but-
You get a gold card so you can get more shit off the taxpayer. Right?
You're not thinking of green card in
No.
America.
Okay.
No.
Sorry, same thing.
Yeah, okay, so now that we've got like the city that's starting to come out of the ashes, etc., and we've got a lot of restaurants coming, do we sort of have the population to actually sustain all this hospo growth, for lack of a better term? What do you think?
I think we've got, like numbers, we've got the population, but we don't have it's not a very dynamic culture, Christchurch. And I think most people that live in Christchurch for a number of different reasons. Most of them are family-based, you know, so you have children or you have family here or you have your parents here, and that doesn't make for a very dynamic sort of restaurant scene.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, trying to portray Christchurch as a small Melbourne and all that sort of stuff, I think we're a bit off skew there. I think what we should really champion is that we're a slightly large Timaru, and you know we should sort of play to our strengths. You know that we're a little bit more upwardly mobile than that. We've got some better things going for us, but you know we need to just sort of stick to what we're good at doing.
Yeah.
You know, and
Well, if we're like a slightly large Timaru, can we have a food story then? Because, you know, to suggest that we are a big regional town, which is quite Adelaide
We are.
in the Australian sense, and that's where we come from.
Yeah.
So I get that. But if you're going to stand in that space, then you actually have to have a food story. You know, you have to be connected to where your food is from.
You can't not be connected to food in Christchurch. So, I mean, we're in the
We live in a farm.
well, basically, we're
Yeah, well,
You know,
but where's our story?
Yeah, that's only speaking from our vantage point. Like, not everybody produces food. Not everybody makes food for other people, let alone themselves. And we have a lot of consumers, and they will buy things if you put a pretty package on them. So there can be a huge amount of dissociation with, like, food, place, and time.
Do you think that people care about the food story? As a consumer, I'm going out. I've just met a girl off Tinder, and we're on our third date now. And I'm like, okay, it's
out.
meal
Shout
time.
out to
It's
Tinder
meal
date.
time, right? Do I need to think about food story? I probably wouldn't. I'm just like, where's like
There's a restaurateur in Christchurch who's made his entire living off making restaurants that are good date places. Yeah, not that they're great food
That's
or great
so
service. They're a
true.
place that
Okay.
that's a good date place, and that's part of the hospitality story. It's not necessarily that they serve good food.
That's
You
also
know,
what restaurants are as
Yeah,
well. You know,
it's a
little bit
restaurants
exciting.
are more than just food, way more than just food.
Yeah, it's a sense of escapism. It's not
Yeah.
that you're actually watching the person cooking for you in a penny. You're actually trying to look deep into their eyes, and
Yeah.
you know,
Maybe you
This
want
is
the excitement, or maybe you want to come across as a sweet guy. I don't know. You want to flash your bravado
do.
ego, or do you want to show your big heart?
I've got a big heart.
Honestly.
Does this explain why restaurants seem to be morphing into wine bars currently?
I think
Sure.
people are looking
Plus
for adult
alcohol.
spaces to actually go out to.
Yeah.
Because alcohol.
Because
No,
alcohol.
So true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've lost a lot of things in terms of our social spaces. Where do people actually gather and do things? And we haven't actually replaced them with anything. It's sort of like, well, you can't go to the pub and do these things, particularly middle-aged blokes, as I'm talking as one of them, that, you know, it's sort of like, where's the safe space? Oh, I'm going to go and hang out in Lycra and have latte with a bunch of, you know, wankers on bikes. I don't want to do that. So where else is there?
God for that nickname.
It's about identity of the self as much as it is the identity of the collective society that you're in. Like, you're like, how do I identify? I don't want to, like, hang out at this place and have a Steinlager. I don't want to necessarily hang out in this wine bar. Maybe I don't need a coffee right now.
I sell alcohol for a living. The only good thing about it is it makes you think you're better socially. Like, it doesn't actually improve anything else. It
breaks walls down.
My pool game is
there's a window though.
The window that we all believe that
true.
exists. But, you know, there's a social aspect to that, and if we actually integrate that as part of our going out and enjoying things, and you feel that you're getting into the story of the place and where you're at and the person you're with, you're having memorable occasions when you're doing that, and that needs to be part of the hospitality thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Christchurch has an amazing site. You know, we're the gateway to the South Island. There's so much amazing stuff that comes through here. So that should be our story. People come through here to actually see the best of the South Island here, and I think
is that reflected in our plates though? Because if I'm trying to sell Christchurch hospitality to people beyond those that live in the city, how am I going to point out something that's different than hospitality in Wellington or
we
Auckland?
Should definitely have Bomb Antarctica, not Bomb Alaska. We are
Bomb Antarctica.
the gateway to
Where you going with that,
Antarctica,
girl?
right?
It's melting. Why would you
like
want to
it?
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
That's
a food story, sister.
Yeah.
Like, that's what
Just
I'm
come up with
talking
that
about.
thing.
We should be celebrating that part, and I don't know that we necessarily do. We just don't tell enough of where we've come from and what we're doing and how we're getting there. There's so much to be said in what we are, and I think some of that actually just comes back to the basics of people can't. Jonny, you've done this more than me. When you go around to someone's house, have you ever found someone with a properly sharp knife?
No.
Like, you know, if there's a bad pan, there's no knives, can't cook, won't cook, don't understand, and you know, it's the eat well for less, whatever that program is. It's like spruiking countdown. You know, if you can't understand where it's coming from, you know, I think everyone here would be going, actually, I had a parent who did this and they cooked that and I actually understood and I appreciated these things. My mum can cook better than 99% of the chefs
Totally.
in this country. And you grow up with an appreciation, you go through all these things, and then you actually go, hang on, we should be doing this with our primary produce. We need to tell those stories, and if people can't appreciate it, it's not, I don't think it comes back to anything to do with hospitality. It actually comes down to people's understanding.
Yeah.
How many people I know who are in North Canterbury are amazing hunters, and then ask them to cook a piece of venison, and they can't. They'll tell you how to shoot it and cut it out on their backs. Those guys
Hang it and drag it out and do whatever
those guys
to it.
doing that should be leading the story of, like, you can dive and get this power. Tell me how to cook the best power.
Yeah.
The stories should be actually coming direct from those people in there. And when that farmer or that fisher person can tell you that story about where it's coming from, then that's got to lead to the chef. I don't believe it should be chef-led.
No.
It should be actually grower and producer-led.
Yeah.
They're the ones who should
I've
be.
never thought that the chef is the right person to tell the food story. And basically because we're always in an intermediary role.
We're interpreters, right?
We're only as good as the product we get, and we're only as good as the customer that we serve it to. You know, and the story that we can tell is limited by the audience. You know, so if the audience doesn't want to hear what we have to say, then we're voiceless. We have nothing to say.
Liver creme brulee.
Yeah,
Like,
which I've done before.
Yeah.
You know,
And then
I remember that dinner. Remember when you did lamb liver for dessert? Oh my
I did
God.
a whole offal dessert.
For?
Yeah.
Was it just awful?
it was
so wrong.
Yeah, it was
It was so wrong, and like it literally split a whole room, and I've never ever seen a whole room of people split in half. Of like, that was amazing, and other people on the other side were going,
Effing
"What
brilliant.
the fuck is that?"
So
Never again.
Yeah.
Schwass.
Yeah, he
But
shattered my bed.
that is just like that's so classic. It was
that's
the
also
lamb
playing
and
to an
Pinot
audience. That's
dinner.
playing to an audience, you know.
Yeah,
That's,
and that was lamb and it was Pinot that
Yep.
came from our region, and that's our point of difference. So I actually think we're talking about two different markets, because one market is the people who live here
Yes.
and whether they go for date night, and the other market is what entices people to eat out. And when
Yeah.
someone says to me, where do I eat in Christchurch, what do I tell them in response to that question? Because obviously they're looking for something that's different from other parts of New Zealand.
Yeah.
Or they want a quintessential Christchurch experience.
So even from mouth to mouth, it can depend on what you say as the giver of advice as to what you believe that they would best receive.
So what would you say if someone...
Who
what
knows,
is
Angela?
the
You're the
quintessential-
oracle. You are telling the story.
Yes, what do you see?
You
Such
hold the
a
key.
great-
What do you see?
Actually, the key maker holds
That's
the
a
Yeah.
chin stroker.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some phenomenal chefs in Christchurch, and I've worked with some and trained some and worked for some, and I've been in cooking in Christchurch for 30 plus years, and yeah,
He's not going to reveal his real age.
yeah, 30 plus, another number, and it's in all that time. There's always been a really small number of people that have been trying to tell the same story. And I don't think that's ever going to change. I don't think the number of people telling the story is going to change. And I don't think the number of people listening to the story is going to change. I think that what's going to change is all the people around it. All those people. There's always going to be a little centre, like there's always going to be an eye over the tornado of Christchurch hospitality, of people that are hot, that are doing all the things that are right now, and that's finite. That's not everyone can do that. It makes no sense for Christchurch to have 300 restaurants that are all 6-seaters that only do 11-course tasting menus, because that's just not going to work for anyone.
We don't have the disposable income to do that the way that the Melbournes and the Sydneys and
No,
Londons and things do.
but generally people don't want to eat like that all the time,
That's so true.
but on those moments that you want to eat that, you need a restaurant like that, and restaurants like that are important and always need to be somewhere. They always need to be around. Equally, there needs to be places where you can go and get a really good ham sandwich and a nice cup of coffee, and the coffee is as close to as can be roasted next to the place that it's served, and the ham that's in the sandwich is really nice, and the bread's made by someone that gives a shit, and the person in the kitchen really cares about how they put that
Alex
together.
Cafe.
Yeah, Alex Cafe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Christchurch Botanic Garden, 7 days a week, open every day but Christmas Day.
Whoa!
I think people in hospitality underestimate their effect on people. It's really easy, because we see it every day, to forget how important certain moments are in people's lives. So
Yeah.
when Jess, my wife, worked at Pedro's for far too long a period of time, and you people like, I had this dish and I'm coming back for our next major anniversary, and it's 10 years later.
Yes.
And they want to have the same dish, and that's a really important moment for them. It's people reliving the
Yeah.
moment of, I went to Galaxy Cafe, or I was in Booth, I went to the Valentine's Cafe downstairs and we had
Yep.
ham and mustard, and this was, there was a last day I saw my grandmother. There were intensely emotional things that are tied up in it, which is why
Yep.
people get so angry and het up about restaurants and things like this in general. I think it's such a touchstone for people. But because we see it every day when you're in the industry, you forget how important that stuff is, and how boring the craft often is, that you're repeating the same thing over and over, and you're trying to reinvent it as more magical, but actually the
Yep.
magic is in the person beholding it, not what your work is.
I mean, what I love about cooking is the beauty of the repetition of it. It's like I love doing the same thing repetitively, and because it means it's like, for me, generally my life is pretty chaotic, and all the things around it are quite chaotic, and there's lots of things, but what I really love about me and a piece of food is that I know exactly what I need to do. I know exactly what the moment is that steak is cooked right. I know exactly when I need to add some salt. I know exactly when I need to take it off. I know exactly when I should rest it, when I should carve it, when I should do all the things that I need to do. And I love the fact that I can do that repetitively, day in, day out, and that's a moment in my chaotic, sort of weird, unbalanced life that is really peaceful. I find real peace in cooking, that a lot of people think is weird, because they seem to think it's really chaotic and it's chaos, but I'm the other way around. Most of my other life is really chaotic and full of chaos, but the sanctuary of the kitchen is really, I find, really peaceful.
It's
I
very
was just going to say,
It's really nice.
another aspect of Christchurch hospitality that has always been really strong that I remember is the baking side. So, and really good bread, really good patisserie, really good cakes.
Yeah.
Like, Yeah.
just a Kiwi thing, right? You know, like I mean,
But
we're
I
really
feel like
we're
it's
really
a
good at filling the
really
tins, right?
Yeah, filling the tins. That's a
Yeah.
big part of our food culture.
Yeah.
And I'm always fascinated about where that came from because there was a huge amount of innovation around that. Like if you put up a list
World War II,
of
that's where it all started.
New Zealand biscuits and slices, that is crazy inventive shit.
Yeah.
Like really interesting stuff. And I see that manifest in different places, but I've always seen that really strongly in Christchurch. And I mean, yeah, like you work at a place that makes beautiful bread and patisserie is kind of your thing. So yeah, what do you think about that? Not that I'm the interviewer.
No, I'm just enjoying this conversation. I'm so freaking buzzed right now. Sorry.
I know, like, Christchurch is a place where we have the freedom to, like, really sort of, like, reinvent ourselves right now, especially the last 10 years. Everybody's doing it. It's the hip new thing. But we have so many influences, you know, the Queens, the motherland, and then, like, anyone that's a baker or a chef has been taught through French cuisine, and we've been given a lot of, like, rules and roads, and to follow those are great. Start to veer down your own side path and add things is also great. Sometimes some additions are just too many, and sometimes somebody strikes brilliance. So it's really nice when people have the discipline to hone in to see exactly what is needed and not necessarily just what is wanted, and to be able to, like, expand on that and just have a natural progression of growth, and just, yeah, not to let ego get in the way, but to let pure, like, passion of, like, the product, and not to let, you know, personal things get in the way of the product. Like, so you're able to communicate clearly with your colleagues about, like, what you think is best about this thing. Like, from a scientific standpoint, I think it's really important. I think Christchurch could do with a bit more of that, like, a bit more of being a bit more open about, like, what's good and what's not. And it's fine, it's not personal, and it's not a back and forth. It's about, like, what's better for everyone. And yeah, that covers so many facets, from the catching of the food, the growing of the food, to the serving of the food. But usually I find it falls short sometimes with how people you know, like, make and present the food. And it's, like, such a beautiful, long, energy intensive process for somebody to stumble at the very end just before the plate, or for somebody not to really notice how intensely amazing it is on the plate and just to scoff it in conversation, which is fine. It's great. It's conducive to happiness for the soul, which is what we want. Like, you know, it's one thing to make food, but then to also feed the soul is, like, a tall order, right? But that's what we all want. So yeah.
Awesome. Wow, how about that? Love that. Well, look, guys, I mean, I've just been talking so much, and I think it's probably time to wrap this thing up. Thank you for your amazing answers. We are gonna. Does anyone else have anything else to add just quickly, or are you okay? You're okay if we wrap this puppy up?
Yeah.
We could talk for hours. We've got
Okay.
another topic to do.
All good.
No, that was great.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're done.
Was that one topic?
That was just one. That was one topic. One topic.
Which one was it?
There's going to be more. Oh, I don't know. Something about hospital. Something about Alex Cafe. I don't know. Anyway, hey,
was the
thank you
lowest
so
homo.
much for watching. If you've got anything you'd like to add, please drop it down in the comments below. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to State of It and give this one a thumbs up. Thank you all very much for your time and for your amazing answers as well. And we'll see you in the next episode. Bye!
Bye.